Is it okay now? Can we see?
Yes, sir. We can see it very well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So my presentation is going to be about the strategic importance of knowledge management in this pandemic process. And before I start my presentation, of course, we have three concepts here that we have to discuss. One of them is knowledge management. The other one is SMEs, the situation of SMEs. And third one, of course, the pandemic process and how the companies should react in this process. Let me start from the knowledge management. First, as we all know, we are going through a transition period in the last few decades. Actually, we have been witnessing a transformation of economies from industrial era to knowledge era, where all parameters are changing. So we have to be aware of the fact that new success stories are based on different parameters than the previous one, the old industrial era. So this new era of knowledge economies is described with increasing global competition, advancing technologies, changing nature of business, and changing market conditions in general. And what is knowledge management in the first place? We have to correct one misunderstanding before trying to define what it is. It is important to understand what it is not. Definitely, it is not a tool or a software, as this is a big and common misunderstanding about knowledge management. Some people think that it is a software or it's a kind of tool. It is not. So, because why I'm saying this? Because in our research, we made a lot of, we collect data, and some of them we collect data through face-to-face interviews. And I've heard this so many times. People are saying that, for example, are you implementing knowledge management? The question is, and they say, no, not yet, but we will buy next year, for example. Come on, it's not something you can buy or sell. You know, it is a mentality what we are talking about. It's a way of thinking. It's a paradigm change. So knowledge management is not a tool. It's not a software, definitely. We can define knowledge management as the systematic management of all activities and processes referred to generation and development, codification, storage, transfer, sharing, and utilization of knowledge for the organization's competitive edge. So, of course, we have many definitions, and this definition is based on the main four processes of knowledge management, which are generation and development of knowledge, codification, storage, transferring, sharing, and utilization of knowledge resources for the organization's competitive edge or for the organization's competitive purpose. And also, knowledge management has four main infrastructural elements, which are technology, culture, organizational structure. Culture here, of course, we mean organizational culture, organizational structure, and intellectual capital, or more precisely, human capital. And we have to underline one thing. The research indicates that infrastructure of knowledge management plays a very significant role in the performance of knowledge management activities in general, or the performance of the organizations. I give this example to infrastructure. It looks like, you know, the climate in agriculture. For example, think about agricultural processes, planting something or so on. And think about doing this in a tropical country, and think of doing this in a country like Kuwait, for example, I'm in now. In a tropical country, the climate is very suitable for agriculture. Every time, almost every day it's raining, the weather is humid, so it's easy. Whatever you plant, it's going to be, you know, easily. Agriculture is very easy in a tropical country. However, if you come to Kuwait-like country, for example, in summertime, it's going 60 degrees Celsius, and you should implement more specific processes to make proper agriculture here. You need to pay more effort. You need to do something else extra. So what I'm saying is this, the infrastructure is actually helping us to implement proper knowledge management strategies. Or in other words, infrastructure is the enabler of knowledge management before, and maybe sometimes more important than, the processes. And why we underline this so much? Because we are going to connect knowledge management to SMEs, small and medium-sized organizations. And when we analyze small and medium-sized organizations, most of them don't have well-established, well-documented knowledge management implementation. But they may have a very strong knowledge-friendly organizational culture. Consciously or subconsciously, they know it or they're not aware of it, but they may have a very suitable environment, very suitable knowledge-friendly culture and knowledge-friendly organizational structure that may help them to implement knowledge management effectively. So let's continue with the small and medium-sized enterprises and knowledge management. Of course, managing knowledge resources effectively is becoming a very key issue to create value and to create wealth for the organizations and for the nations in the last few decades, as we mentioned before. However, when we look at the small and medium-sized enterprises, this is becoming more important. Why? Because, the traditional factors of production, land, labor, capital, small and medium-sized companies are already struggling with these factors, usually, most of them at least. They are struggling with the financial issues. They have constraints about sufficient labor force. They are usually struggling about finding the required natural resources. But one thing is for sure, they have one thing very important for them that keeps them competitive, and that is knowledge. And they know something. That's why they start up a business. Usually the founders of startups, the entrepreneurs, they know something. They have a knowledge, individually or collectively. They know something. That's why they start up a business. So that is the key issue for them that makes them competitive, that keeps them competitive. So for small and medium-sized organizations, managing knowledge resources effectively is becoming more important than big companies, because that is the only advantage they have to cope with their especially big, large competitors. But I have to underline a number of important points here. One of them is from knowing to effective use of knowledge. They are two different concepts. As I mentioned before, especially small companies, most of them, they know something good. I mean, whatever it is, it can be a production process. They have some capabilities, they have some skills that makes them different, that makes them competitive. Can be whatever. You cook kebab, nice, I don't know, or you produce something nice, better than others. You know how to make a production, you know how to give a service. I don't know, you know something, definitely. I mean, we appreciate this one. But knowing something is not equal to effective use of knowledge resources. These are two different concepts. Effective use of knowledge resources, why I'm saying, because in small and medium-sized companies, one problem is the most important thing here is can be or one-man show. The knowledge resource can be limited with the founder or a family member group's knowledge. So what we need is, in order to utilize the knowledge resources, we need to be able to transfer the knowledge from the founder to all stakeholders, or at least all employees. And to be able to use different sources of knowledge is also another challenging point for small and medium-sized companies. And keeping being innovative or continuously innovative, being innovative. Because to be honest, most of, again, many, we have experiencing many startups, many companies, many small companies are coming up with a new, or at least unique, different idea or a new skill. And at the initial stage, they may be even innovative, but it's not easy for them to keep it that way. Continuously being innovative, continuously generating knowledge, continuously creating knowledge is not an easy issue. And sometimes even knowing something good can be a negative item for this process. In other words, we call this a success trap. If you are successful in a certain job, that can prevent you to come up with new ideas sometimes. What I mean is this. Let me give you a real case example. Once we were invited to a factory, a medium-sized organization. They were producing furniture materials. And the founder and owner of the company invited us for consultancy. And he showed us the factory, the equipments, the whatever assembly line. He explained how they started up the business and then how they extended it, and with additional units, many people and labor, many labor force increased, units increased, production increased from this level to that level. Okay, fine. And I said, come on, I mean, if you're doing so good, why did you invite us? Because usually you invite consultants when you need something, if something is going wrong. And he said, okay, doctor, everything is going good. We are extending, growing. However, the profit doesn't grow. It doesn't increase. There's something wrong. But he still keeps on telling me how he's going to add some additional units, how he's going to whatever. You know why they are doing this? Because production is the only thing he knows. And he thinks that repeating this is going to solve everything. If he produces more and more and more, he's going to solve everything. But it's not the case. So he knows something. Yes, definitely. He knows how to produce. No, there's something he knows, but he doesn't know cost management. He doesn't know financial management. He doesn't know marketing. No. So knowing something can be a trap for some people. No, to come up with new things, to see different points of the fact. Therefore, we have to find out ways to effective use of knowledge resources. Not only knowing something good, but how to transfer this knowledge, how to come up with new ideas, how to see the big picture, how to collect information and knowledge from different sources, and so forth. And when we look at the small and medium-sized organizations from the knowledge management perspective, of course, we see they have some advantages. Of course, the list goes on, but some of them they are flexible, definitely, which is an advantage for them. I will come to this point, especially in this time of like crisis times. Flexibility can be a very crucial point, by the way. And they are good in social knowledge transfer. Informal social knowledge transfer, usually the small companies are better. Smallness can be their advantage, especially from knowledge management perspective. Why? Because in a small unit, it's much more easy to control, to not control, wrong word, to manage the knowledge resources, to share, transfer, effective transfer of knowledge resources is easier in a small unit than a large. And to organize the knowledge resources is easier in a small unit than a big, large company or geographically, dispersed company. They are definitely less formal. Usually they have lower turnover compared to big companies, and they are usually good risk takers, which is very important, of course, for them. But of course, they have certain weaknesses. What are they? Lack of formal procedures, lack of well-defined strategy, lack of knowledge, effective knowledge transfer and sharing. They can be converted to a one-man show in some cases. So it's limited only the capabilities of the founder or few managers. Lack of strategic management is or planning is another weakness. Lack of timely, accurate accessing to accurate knowledge resources in a timely manner can be another weakness. And of course, lack of systematic ways to manage knowledge resources can be another weakness for small and medium-sized organizations. So when it comes to COVID-19 crisis, thank you for the presenters. They explained very useful information. They gave useful information about this crisis and how it affects the countries and the companies and employees and so on. And so as mentioned, I don't want to repeat this, of course, but as mentioned earlier, this is definitely one of the biggest economic and maybe social crisis, according to me, after the Second World War. It's the biggest global scale crisis. And so we have to recognize this in the first place. We have to recognize that this is a serious issue because some people are still not, some business people are still ignoring the effects of COVID-19. They think that just we close our eyes and just wait, take a deep breath, and we open our eyes, and everything will be back. And I don't think it's going to happen. So this is a very serious issue, and the business life before COVID-19 and the business life after post-COVID-19 is not going to be the same. So we have to accept this fact in the first place. So obviously it leads to shrinking the economies, and especially it hits the small and medium-sized enterprises. So smaller SMEs are becoming the victims of this economic crash, unfortunately. The uncertainty is, of course, very obviously seen in this process. Economic losses, recessions, financial problems, lack of market demand, reduction in operations, supply chain management problems, logistics and distributions, and also, of course, as mentioned, psychological problems even are, the list goes on. So this pandemic, this crisis is bringing a lot of course, serious problems to cope with, especially for small and medium-sized organizations. So in this context, how can we link knowledge management into a competitive strategy in order to cope with this crisis? Before going to the items, I would like to explain the first thing. Recognizing the situation is the first step to start doing something. So I resemble this like a person who is having a heart attack. What is the first thing we do if we are having a heart attack? We have to understand what is going on, you know? As I mentioned before, taking a deep breath, okay, sit down and wait, and it will disappear. It is not going to disappear like that. Heart attack is not going to disappear just waiting aside. Okay, you have to do something. You have to take action immediately. Only then you may have a chance. So discovering, realizing the situation is the first step to start doing something. And second step, we have, of course, different alternatives. Different action plans can be taken there. Am I going to call an ambulance, or am I going to go to the hospital myself, or should I call someone to bring me to the hospital? Or, I don't know. There might be different alternatives, then that I should choose it wisely, the most convenient alternative. And there's going to be an action process. I'll go to the hospital and I'm going through a medication process or whatever, maybe surgery, I don't know, the treatment process. And after this heart attack, and with a good scenario that I survive, my life is not going to be the same as it used to be. So I have to change my life to be, to stay healthy. So just like this COVID-19 crisis, number one step is we have to be aware of what's going on. We have to recognize that this is a big crisis. It's not going to disappear immediately. It has long-term. It will have long-term effects. We don't know how it is going to affect precisely, even though very nice research outcomes have been shared with us, but still the process is going on and no one knows how it is going to develop. But one thing is for sure, there's not a short-term issue. It's not going to disappear immediately. So we have to get ready for this cold fact and prepare ourselves for this. So recognizing the process and come up with the alternative plans. We should take an action plan and implement it wisely. So what are some knowledge management initiatives that we can undertake in this process? Number one, rethinking of everything. As you know, traditional strategic management literature is based on environmental analysis, foresighting, and foreseeing the future, trying to forecast the future developments and take action based on that. Unfortunately, this is not the key to success in these conditions. Environmental analysis is important, but forecasting, foresight, foreseeing is not possible. Everything is so blurry. This is a process no one has experienced before. So it can be also an advantage because everyone is equally blind. So the big companies cannot use their well-established experiences because it doesn't work anymore. We are witnessing a new situation where no one knows what's going to happen. Everybody is equally blind. So we have to come up with new solutions, with new ways of working. We have to figure out how to cope with this with rethinking of everything, starting from the beginning. And of course, being innovative is a crucial capability in COVID-19 crisis for the companies. In order to be innovative, they have to change their knowledge strategies. I'm going to explain how it's going to happen. And therefore, knowledge management can provide some necessary capabilities to cope with this crisis, to find out new opportunities, redesigning the work. And another important item is clearing up the business strategy, clearing up the mindset, because this is a general problem in the SMEs, but especially in this kind of crisis, it becomes even worse. What is that? Contradicting strategies. They don't have a clear mindset about their strategic preferences. For example, cost leadership or differentiation. Are they cost leader or are they differentiated? Are they going to implement focus strategy, narrow or broad? Are they going to grow or are they going to retrench or are they going to keep stable? So their strategic decisions are not clear. Their strategic mindset is not clear. But in these crisis times, we need a clear mindset about this. we have to decide who is our target, what is our target market, who is our customer, how we are going to create value for them, how we are going to, what is our competitive advantage, what is our core competency, what makes us different than our competitors. Because business life is a kind of game, is a kind of competition. So we have to be better than others. I mean, doing something good is not enough. We have to be better than our competitors, at least competitors. You know, there's a joke about this. One day, two friends, they go to safari, and they're walking in the jungle, and suddenly they see a tiger just in front of them, and one of them starts tying his shoes. And his friend says, "Dear friend, what are you doing? You cannot run faster than a tiger." And he said, "I don't need to. I need to run faster than you." Because one of us will survive in the end. So this is how business life is going. We have to be better than our competitors, definitely. So we need to clear up our strategy. We need to define what makes us different, what keeps us competitive. And here, how knowledge management is going to help us. Number one, we need effective sharing of knowledge. Number two, we need to gather knowledge from different sources. We need to learn how to, we need to learn how to learn, let me say, how to learn continuously and how to implement it continuously. Why? Because two concepts are becoming the key concept in this crisis. One of them is resilience. The other one is responsiveness. Resilience shows how strong we are in times of these crises. How actually flexible we are. You know, the important point is not to be strong, but being flexible. Crisis times, flexibility becomes a key issue. And responsiveness. We have to be responsive. We have to come up with responsive solutions because the situations, the environment, internal and external, is changing very dramatically. So we have to keep responsive to this process. We have to, for example, very simple examples, we have to learn how to work online. We have to learn how to make business online. We have to cope with this situation. Of course, there are many, it's not that easy, I know that. Not for the individuals, not for the organizations. But we have to figure out how to cope with this. And that's what we call flexibility, responsiveness, and resilience. So these are the main issues. And how can we do this? With effective sharing of knowledge, with effective gathering of knowledge, with effective utilization of knowledge. Because learning something is meaningful if you are able to use what you have learned immediately in a timely and continuous manner. So we have to learn and implement it in a continuous way, in a timely manner. And transparency is also another key concept, especially in knowledge management. As I mentioned, one-man show is no longer being the case for us. No one is genius enough to cope with everything now. We have to make everybody, all the stakeholders if possible, at least all the employees, be a part of solution. So it is time to show really to care about our people. It is time to showcase that their health, their well-being is really important, not as important, is more important than the business results. Human life is more important than business results, and it is time to show this to honor people, to give them a purpose, and make them a part of solution. Everybody, this is very important. In a recent broadcast, Dave Ulrich mentioned this. He said, the best thing you can do for your employees is to give them a purpose. Give them a purpose, meaning to make them feel part of solution. So it's not, I'm not talking about motivational speeches or so on. No, it doesn't work. Trust me, it doesn't work. I'm not talking about those kind of stuff. I'm talking about really caring about people, really putting them into the heart of situation, heart of solutions. And that's the only way to effective sharing of knowledge, effective gathering of new knowledge, and coming up with new solutions. So we have to change the mindset. We have to come up with a new culture, a culture where everybody is going to contribute, a culture where everybody feels comfortable or even encouraged to contribute, come up with ideas. We don't know who has the good idea. No one is clever enough to know everything. So we have to encourage everybody to get involved in our solutions. And one more thing, of course, employees are not only there to share the difficulties, they're also there to share the benefits. Of course, we have to be fair enough to share the benefits with them. And team working is getting more and more important, maybe more important than ever before. Not to mention, of course, very specifically in our financial decisions, we have to be careful. And last but not least, a very good cliche, patience is the key in this process. Without being, getting panic is something we don't. Okay, quick response, agility, flexibility are important capabilities, but panic is not something. There's a difference between being panic decisions and quick decisions are not the same. So we shouldn't be get panicked. We should be patient, but we should be able to give quick response. Quick action is important. So that's all I would like to present today. Thank you for listening, and any question, please, most welcome.
Thank you very much, dear Professor, for your presentation. Actually, we all know that the knowledge management is one of the most important and crucial problems nowadays, after especially the total quality management systems. Actually, I have a question. You already have discussed that the knowledge management is not a software. It is a mentality, or it is an understanding. I think that today, the most important problem of the small and medium enterprises is ability to respond to the quick changing, rapid changing markets. So that for this response, I think that we need knowledge. First of all, in order to use it, we need to create knowledge. Then, creation is not, enough. Then we need to share it. Then we need to record it somewhere. We need to, store it to be used later on. How all these things are related with the concept of total quality management? Could you please explain this in an academic form that, it can give some future research opportunities for the academics here? Thank you very much.
Of course. Actually, some of the items I mentioned, I already, some dimensions of total quality management. Number one, for example, one of the mottos of total quality management is write what you do what you write, for example. And this is exactly what we say in knowledge management, in knowledge recording, or in order to access the knowledge that we need in a timely manner. So the cliche sentence is this: to have the right to be able to the right person at the right time with the right knowledge. we have to store it in a nicely, in a good way, and we have to be able to recall the knowledge, the information that we need. And so storing this knowledge is also transferring it from tacit to explicit form is one of the important dimensions of total quality management. And also, for example, we talk about a knowledge-friendly culture, knowledge-sharing culture, which requires involvement of the employees. That is also another important, the philosophy of total quality management is based on employees' involvement. So these two concepts, as you mentioned, are really interconnected, and it's really a good research area how to make connections and how this affects companies' performance and even knowledge management results or total quality management results, how they can maybe moderate each other or how they can be associated with each other. It's going to be a good, very good and useful research area. Not only research area, but also the implementation side is very important as well.
Surely. Thank you very much, Professor.
Okay.
I learned really good information from your presentation and answer to the question. If there is anyone to ask a question, you are welcome.